Over the last 3 years on this channel, I have looked at over 250 games on the Nintendo Switch eShop. I love the eShop. I think it's a great place to find fantastic games, and I love to check it out and find you spectacular hidden gems, although that term is getting overused at this point by me, especially, because a lot of the games I find aren't necessarily hidden gems. They're just games I dig. But today I want to talk to you again about the Nintendo Switch eShop, and I'm going to give you 11 games this time because I only gave you 9 last month. So we're going to kick things off with a game I missed last month that sharp-eyed viewers noticed was actually in the description. This is Roots of PACHA. You know, as much as I like platformers and action games and racing games, sometimes what you really need is just a really, really chill, cozy game, and that is what is offered by Roots of PACHA. This is a very clever spin on kind of Stardew Valley, but not exactly. So, I mean, it's a farming sim, which I think we all kind of understand the basics of that. You have to clear out your fields, you have to plant your crops, you have to harvest your crops, you have to sell them, you make offerings. But what is really neat about this one is it's set during the Stone Age, so this isn't during modern times. And the people in the game are just really fascinating, like incredible characters that are really, really interesting to talk to. You're able to completely customize your character, you're able to design things and build it the way you want to play. It's a very nice game, and one of the things I really like about this as well is it's not just a single player game, there's a co-op mode as well. It's a really, really fun title, and it's got a great look, like a fantastic pixel art design that can't be overstated. It's, again, very much inspired by Stardew Valley, but while it is clearly inspired by it, it does its own thing, and it does its own thing very well. Roots of PACHA is very fun. It's a $24.99 game, and I want to thank the publisher for providing a review code. I won't lie to you. At first glance and at first play, Musashi vs. Cthulhu did not land for me. I was just not feeling it, but doing my due diligence, I wanted to make sure that this wasn't just a one-time thing and something that where my first impression was going to be the lasting one. I wanted to give it its fair shake and try it again, and I have had an absolute blast with Musashi vs. Cthulhu once I kind of like slowed down and replayed the tutorial and actually paid attention to what I was supposed to be doing, because the gameplay itself is simple. When enemies come in, there's going to be a point highlighted on them that you are to attack. And your different face buttons, either the X, A, or B, or up, left, or down on your D-pad, are going to indicate where that attack is going to go. And you need to make sure that you're attacking in time and keeping your rhythm and keeping your spacing from the enemies that are flooding you from each side of the screen. And as you play, the enemies will get progressively more difficult and larger, and will start to attack you as well. And it's just a really simple, straightforward game that is a perfect kind of, I just have 5 minutes to play. It's the exact kind of game that I look for in a digital release. Musashi vs. Cthulhu doesn't break the bank either. It's a $5 game, and for something that is very simple but deceptively difficult, I think that's a good price point. One of my absolute favorite games of the last 10 years is Dead Cells, and I knew it was only a matter of time before we started seeing imitators and pretenders to the throne that kind of took inspiration from Dead Cells, and we started seeing kind of tributes to that release. And Skelethrone is just such a game, but it does so by being its own thing. It's a very interesting title where you play as a reanimated skeleton. There's Souls-like elements to the gameplay by it being incredibly difficult and needing to be very twitchy and very reaction-based in your movements, as well as RPG elements that you're going to use to build your character up. And the gameplay challenge is great. It's fantastic. It's a wonderful type of Metroidvania that really kind of was set the standard by Dead Cells over the last few years. Not saying that's the only Metroidvania ever, folks. Don't get your panties in a bunch. It is something that is very, very clearly inspired by Dead Cells, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. I think it's a very fun game, a very difficult game, but a very fair game. And that's one of the things that I think Dead Cells did so well that Skelethrone: The Chronicles of Arakona does as well. It's setting that perfect balance between challenge and frustration by not getting to the point where you just don't want to play it anymore, which is kind of my case with a lot of Souls-like games. This one strikes a balance that makes me want to keep going, and that's kind of the best compliment I can give it. Skelethrone: The Chronicles of Arakona is a $14.99 game. If you like games like Dead Cells, check this one out. I think you'll enjoy it. I was immediately intrigued by Arco when I saw the email come across describing the title, because Anytime you say you're going to be doing a turn-based real-time strategy game, which just putting those two terms together just makes no sense, but when you actually put them together and you get into game, this is such a brilliant concept and such a ridiculously fantastic execution of that concept that I think it needs to be celebrated. You play in the world of Arco, and it is a tactical strategy game where your movements determine what you're able to do. So when you actually get into battle, you need to work on getting into position to utilize the different attacks that are available to you. You have different abilities and different weapons that you're going to find that give you different abilities, like you're eventually able to shoot arrows at characters, and it's really clever because you need to kind of think about the way you're going to move and how you're going to position yourself on the board to avoid the attacks of the enemies you're facing. And that goes to the point where you're actually able to kind of like bend your movement. Instead of just going point A to point B, you're actually able to curve it a little bit, and it's very clever. The storyline in the game is also incredibly strong, and there's some really interesting kind of societal conflict here that is very interesting and not something you see every day in a lot of games, especially from ambitious independent titles like Arco. This is normally a $19.99 game, but through the 22nd, so for a couple more days, it's on sale for $17.99, and I definitely think it's worthwhile. It is a magnificent title. If you are not a fan of Star Wars Bounty Hunter from the original release, just pass on by this section of the video because, I'll be honest with you, I never played it. It was something I completely skipped. It was something I never checked out. It was something I always wanted to play, but I just never pulled the trigger on it. And I'm excited to play it here because it is, warts and all, I do think this is something that is a very unique experience and something that I think more people should enjoy and celebrate because the character of Jango Fett is actually pretty damn cool as far as I'm concerned. And getting a third-person action adventure starring Jango, it's pretty neat. Is this game perfect? Not by any stretch of the imagination is it perfect. There's definitely some flaws here that are just kind of inherent to the generation it came from, to the original design of the title, that aren't tweaked and aren't fixed in this. But if it's something where you go in understanding that this is a 6th-generation game, I think you're going to be just fine and you're going to have fun. The combat is fun, the story is good, the voice acting is great, it does a lot of stuff really well. And like I said, if you weren't originally a fan of this when it released on the 6th generation, you're not going to like this now. But for me, who has always wanted to play this but never did, and kind of understands going into it that this is a 6th generation game released in the modern generation, I still think it's fun. Star Wars Bounty Hunter is a $19.99 game, and for me, I think it's worthwhile. Your mileage might vary, but for me, I think it's a good time.
Have you heard about Big Ron's?
What's he done?
No pies.
No pies?
I know, that's what I said, I know. On a Thursday morning, though.
I have been very firm in my adoration of Untitled Goose Game, so when I heard that there was going to be a game similar to Untitled Goose Game called Thank Goodness You're Here, I was in. I was all in. I wanted to play it, I wanted to see it, I wanted to find out what it was all about, and I am so not disappointed in this absolute fever dream ridiculousness of a game. This is such a wonderful experience from top to bottom and just ridiculously bizarre. And just, I mean, ridiculous is the word. It's the watchword of this game. It is a platformer where you get to run around and punch things and people and complete odd jobs for folks, including things like riding a butter patty across a town square to help someone get unstuck from a manhole cover and finding the different smoking fish in an ice bath. It's a ridiculous game. It's just ridiculous. And it's a wonderful experience. Like, if you are at all a fan of weird-ass British humor, yeah, you're going to like this one. It is a super unique experience and something that is very much a spiritual descendant of Untitled Goose Game. I love it. Thank Goodness You're Here is $19.99. It's hard to describe, but I think if you watch this video and it's at all intriguing to you, you'll love playing it. So if you've been following the channel for a while, you know I'm a big fan of action platformer hack and slash games. I talked about Lady Sia when I talked about GBA games. I've talked about the Pirates of Dark Water on the Sega Genesis, and this here is Abathor, a 2D arcade action platformer for up to 4 players, and I am here to tell you it is absolutely spectacular. This is such a fun game. You have 4 unique characters, massive stages with some awesome power-ups and different enemies that you're able to fight. And each character fits a different archetype. It's pretty cool. You've got the Barbarian, you got a Valkyrie, you got an Archer, and you have a Mage. It's a really wonderful game that does some fairly ambitious heavy lifting that I think is really fun. And the music in the game is great too. I really dig it. And a lot of times with games like this, or with just games in general, you can get these amazing experiences, but it can be kind of overlooked as far as like what a story is. But the lore behind this game is incredibly strong, is very detailed and very in-depth, and it's something that I really enjoy. It's a $14.99 game. It's super fun and definitely worth checking out.
Get ready!
I don't think I've ever gotten my credit card out faster than when I saw SNK vs. Capcom SVC Chaos was releasing on the Switch, because one of my favorite arcade games coming to the Switch, and I'm going to be able to play it whenever I want. It's going to have 36 amazing characters from both SNK and Capcom, and it's going to be fantastic fighting action. Yes, please, bring it to me, pump it directly into my veins, because I need to own this game, and I do, and it is amazing. If you love fighting games, there's no reason for this not to be in your digital collection, because it is a wonderful title. It is a wonderful version of SVC Chaos. It is so much fun, and it is so well balanced, and such a fun game to play with a great, just kind of goofy, idiotic storyline that all these ridiculous SNK versus Capcom games have. It's just fun. And for my fighting game fans, this does have rollback netcode for online play, and it does come with a hitbox viewer, which is pretty dope if you're asking me. That is a great addition to have for a fighting game. It is such a purely wonderful game that it's just a great time. It's a nostalgic throwback for me to like simpler fighting game times, and I love it. It's a $19.99 title. If you enjoy classic fighting games, if you love the SNK vs. Capcom series, there's no reason for this not to be in your collection. I won't lie to you, I'm not a big fan of survival games. It takes something very unique to catch my attention. You know, like, I didn't really get into Minecraft, but Terraria caught my eye because it was a 2D version, basically, of Minecraft. Games like Don't Starve are interesting to me because it does something unique with the kind of genre, and Mists of Noya here does something like that by giving you a classic 2D hack-and-slash platformer in the daytime elements, and then at night, you have to use all of the things that you collect while you're in that 2D platformer to build out your base. It's a very clever game, and it's really well done. Like, the gameplay mechanics are incredibly balanced and very well defined, and it's something that I think really struck a balance that wasn't necessarily something I expected to see, because frequently when you're trying to shoehorn together two incredibly different kind of genres like survival and platforming, you end up with a hodgepodge mess. It's a very rare game that actually sticks the landing, and this one does. Mists of Noya is a $9.99 game. I'm having a lot of fun with this one, and there's a lot of really intriguing characters and different gameplay elements in play here based on who you decide to use and what you decide to build as far as the survival mode goes. It's a brilliant title. You know, I've always wanted to be good at Q*bert, and it has just never come to pass that I am ever going to be successful at that game. And that extends here to Hoppy Hop as well, which is a really fun Q*bert-esque clone here on the Nintendo Switch eShop. You play as a rabbit, and you have to jump around on the different stages to change the panels to different colors. It is 100% a Q*bert clone with a lot of additives and a lot of different ideas and different kind of gameplay mechanics that differentiate it far enough from Q*bert that you're going to be having a unique experience. I really enjoy this one. It's something that when I'm looking for a game to have on my digital library, something like this really jumps out to me. You know, games like this, games like Donut Dodo, quick, action-packed, single-screen arcade games that are just meant to be fun. You don't necessarily need a deep story to have a good time, and Hoppy Hop proves that, because all you're doing is jumping around and avoiding the fox with the gun and the snakes. $4.99, I think this is absolutely worth every penny of it, and definitely something that I think more people need to know about, because I think this kind of flew under folks' radar. I don't think it should come as any surprise on this channel that I'm a big fan of beat-em-ups, and there's not many beat-em-ups more important than the Double Dragon series. And I want to talk to you today about Double Dragon Gaiden: Rise of the Dragons. This is such a clever game. So if you've been on the channel before, you know I'm a big fan of the term roguelike. I do like roguelike games, and this one does have roguelite elements to it. So there's going to be different things that you're going to unlock, different abilities you're going to find, different characters you can unlock, different stage orders you're able to go in, and every time you play, it's going to be a unique experience. And not only that, there's actually like 16 different characters to play with, and there's multiple different combinations of characters you can use because every game you play, you're going to be tag teaming with another character, giving you 2 different characters to use as you're playing. The classic action is here. It is a Double Dragon game through and through, and I legitimately love this game. This is such a fun title. I will tell you, this does have a physical release. I scored this on Amazon for a fairly good price. I think it was under 20 bucks at the time. But if you're looking to get this digitally on your library, this can be yours for $24.99, and I cannot suggest this one enough. There you have it, my friends. 11 games you should be checking out on the Nintendo Switch eShop right now. I think each of these games offers something a little bit different, a little bit exciting, and a lot fun. There's some great games this month on this list. Let me know in the comments down below which one looks most interesting to you. And as always, I love getting suggestions for eShop games. Let me know in the comments down below which games I should be checking out. Until next time, folks, I've been Jay. Appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me. Thank you so much for being here. Until next time, remember to play more games, stay square, and take care. I'll talk to you soon.